Matthew chapter 5, verses 43 through 48. Matthew chapter 5, verses 43 through 48. That'll be the text of our devotional thought. Matthew chapter 5, verses 43 through 48. I've witnessed it, and I know you have too. A sibling fight. Many of you have probably been involved in a sibling fight. And when we're kids, they're actually quite funny. I witnessed one this weekend while we were on vacation. Two boys were playing at the beach, brothers. Now, they were sitting next to us, and by the way they talked, I knew they had to be from Alabama. They sounded like the people where I grew up from. Come to find out, they were from Coleman, which wasn't far from where I grew up. And we struck up a conversation with them as the time went on. But as soon as we first sat down, I witnessed this back and forth happen. The older brother and the younger brother were in the water, and the younger brother had a boogie board, and the older brother wanted the boogie board. So the other brother asked the younger brother, he said, "I want that boogie board, give it to me." And the younger brother said, "No," and proceeded to take his hand and slap him on the back of the neck. Okay? Now, you've seen it before. The younger brother slaps the older brother on the back of the neck, and the older brother slaps the younger brother twice on the back of the neck. Now, you know what happens. As soon as the younger brother gets hit, he cries, starts running up to mom and dad. "He slapped me." Older brother gets in trouble. Sibling rivalries always happen like that. It gets started by somebody, and somebody else gets in trouble, and a lot of times it's the older sibling that gets in trouble. But you've seen it. We oftentimes will treat people, especially our siblings, the people we're close to, in a revenge-type attitude. They do something to me, I'm going to do it twice as worse to them. Hey, they had it coming. But the Bible teaches us kind of a different story about how you and I should treat other people. Not necessarily the people we love. The Bible tells us that you and I, the people we love, outside of sibling rivalries, siblings will really just hate on each other, but they love each other ultimately. I remember as a kid, one of the worst punishments my mom and dad has, I had to hold hands with my sister. There's nothing in this world you could have done worse than make me hold hands with my sibling, my sister. I didn't want to do it. We'd walk through Walmart. We'd have to walk down the aisle just holding hands, because we'd been in a fight. But siblings are different, right? When you and I love somebody, generally, as we get mature, we treat them with respect and kindness because why? They love us, and we love them. And because I love you and you love me, we're going to treat each other kindly. However, the Bible doesn't really talk so much about how we treat those that we love, rather those that we would consider our enemy. And that's where our Matthew chapter 5 passage comes. Matthew chapter 5, beginning in verse 43. Jesus said in the Sermon on the Mount, "You've heard that it was said, 'You shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy.' But I say to you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you, so that you may be sons of your Father who is in heaven. For He makes His sun to rise on the evil and on the good. He sends rain on the just and the unjust. For if you love those who love you, what reward do you have? Do not even the tax collectors do the same? If you greet only your brothers, what more are you doing than others? Do not even the Gentiles do the same? You therefore must be perfect, as your heavenly Father is perfect." One of the emphasis of Matthew chapter 5, especially the very end of that section, verse 48, is that the way God would have us treat others is exactly how He is. It's a great blessing that we serve a God who is different than you and I. He treats people differently than you and I would treat them. You think about if you were in the position of God, just the example given in Matthew chapter 5, you would act differently. At least I would. I don't know. Maybe you wouldn't. Maybe you're a much better person than I am. That's very highly likely. But maybe you kind of see what I'm saying here. If I was God, and there were two people, two farmers, for instance, like in the text, two farmers, the sunrise, the rain, all these things, they go on there. Say God sees two farmers, and He brings the sun up on both of them. One of the farmers is a good man. He's kind to others, he's compassionate, he helps his neighbor, and he says, "I serve God." The other farmer is not kind, he steals and he's dishonest, he does business dishonestly, and he says, "I don't believe in God." To be honest with you, if I'm God, and I have two farmers that have those two different attitudes, and a tornado must go through their area, I know who I'm going to choose to have the tornado go through, right? It seems like an obvious choice for me. The one who does not serve, the one who does not call upon my name, the one who's not kind and compassionate and doesn't care for others. In my human mind, I wouldn't do anything bad to that good farmer. And I would send all the bad on the evil farmer. But that's not the kind of God that you and I serve, is it? Now, that is, from a human perspective, sometimes confounding, but from a divine perspective, it is quite just. God shows mercy to all people, whether they are those who love Him or those who are His enemy. The opportunity for salvation lies out in front of every person, whether they claim God's name or not. They have a chance to go to heaven when they die if they'll follow Him. God is not like you and I, and that's a good thing. And because God's not like you and I, and maybe you and I would find ourselves like that evil farmer occasionally, that means tonight stands before you an opportunity of mercy. Maybe you are like the evil farmer who I would send a tornado to. Someone that would be considered an enemy of God. Maybe you've been away from the Lord. Maybe there's a sin that's kept you from Him. The opportunity stands for God's mercy tonight, for you to come to Him. God's not like you and I. He'll give you every opportunity while you have air in your lungs and a heart beating in your chest. Every opportunity for mercy. Every opportunity to turn and come to Him. God is unlike us. He is full of care. He is full of mercy. And He is full of compassion. And even if we consider ourselves an enemy of God, He still stands ready to save you if you'll respond to Him. And in that way, God is not like us. It's a good thing that you and I serve a God that way, because this evening that opportunity stands for you. And maybe you need to take advantage of it. Maybe you need to come to the Lord in this time of mercy, where He's offered the patience and long-suffering of His own identity to give you time to change. Or maybe you once changed and you turned away. God stands ready to receive you back into the fold, like the father of the prodigal son standing on the porch waiting on his son to return. God stands waiting on you to return. Maybe the case is that you just need encouragement. You want to live right. You know that God is merciful, and you know there's sin in your life and you want to get rid of it. Whatever the case is, the invitation stands ready for you to come and respond to the Lord. A Lord full of mercy who will forgive you totally if you'll turn to Him. If you need to respond, please do so as we stand and sing.